Hey guys, it's Shante, and I wanted to talk to you about another dispatching tip. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about knowing how much a driver is willing to accept to take a load, okay? So the rate that they're willing to take the load for. There are different ways that you can calculate it. The most typical one that's used is basically a rate per mile. So these drivers do know how much it costs to operate their business, so they know how much they want to get on their loads. If a driver says, I'm not going to move my truck for less than $3 a mile or $2 or whatever it might be, it could be $1.75. It depends on what type of truck they have, what their expenses are, and everybody's varies. So when you're filling out your paperwork, or when your driver is, once they come on with you as their dispatcher, they are going to tell you, this is my ideal rate, but nothing under this amount, okay? So don't call them on a load that's less than what they're asking for. There are some times where that might shift depending on the season, if the freight is slow at that time or whatever. So maybe you can try to talk to them about that if that happens, but you should be kind of checking the rates every day to kind of see where everything is at, and getting them the best rate that you can for their truck. And also, most of you work off of commission. So if you make 7%, 5%, 10% or whatever, it affects your wages as well. But we're primarily working for the drivers. They're the ones behind the driver's seat. They're the ones out there on the road, risking their lives, spending time away from home, just all these different variables. So we need to work for them and get them the best rate possible. So basically, when you're looking at a load, especially again, if you're looking at the load boards, you want to see if a broker has already put out an offer, you want to go ahead and divide that by how many miles that load is, and then you'll see what is the rate per mile. Once you get that, you'll know if it's too low or too high. If they don't post it, because a lot of brokers don't post it, then you see what the mileage is for that and go ahead and get your calculator out and multiply it by whatever their mileage is. So if the load is going 300 miles and the driver wants $2 a mile, well, 3 times 2. If the broker is not offering that amount, when you get on the phone with them, you want to try to negotiate that, especially if it's in an area where there are not a lot of trucks coming out of. You might have a little bit more wiggle room. If you use a load board like DAT, they do have a nice little graph that will tell you how many loads they're looking at going into a state versus coming out of one. So you can use certain tools like that to help you negotiate if you need to. Most brokers, they're just like you. You're working for the driver, but they're working for the shipper, and they want the load moved as quickly as possible because they need to make the shipper happy. So if you have a driver that's there in the area that's willing to take the load, they have a good safety record, then you can usually get them a pretty good rate. But just, again, make sure you don't go below what it is they're looking for. Otherwise, they're probably not going to accept it. So that's another thing that I wanted to tell you to be mindful of, is know what the rate per mile is that the driver wants. All right, bye guys.